the reality of the matter is that in the fight against the virus, the taxi industry becomes our key stakeholder. We can't run away from that. I think more than 70% of our population in the Northern Cape are using taxis to move from one point to another. So, as one of the most popular means of transportation in the province, when we are confronted with such a major tragedy, we are confronted with such a pandemic, we really need taxi associations on board, because taxis becomes our key stakeholders. That's the reason why, as the government, we made the effort to ensure that to a certain extent we relieve taxi owners from the burden of sanitizing, disinfecting their taxis and all of that. We've got some goods from National, which is your personal protective equipment, your sanitizers, which we are going to give to the Taxi Association from the province, just to ensure that there is a degree of safety and protection of the poorest of the poor who will be using this form of transportation. But I think the most important thing as well is for us to get the taxi owners and taxi drivers on board to be part and parcel of this army against the transmission of the virus. For now, I think in the country we are standing at around 1.7 and we are having about 12 deaths. And the National Minister of Health actually tells us this is calm before the storm, which means the worst is still to come. The worst is still to come. We are going through a passage of major difficulties as a country. So we need everybody on board. We need to galvanize support right across the board in the province to ensure that people join the battle against the spread of the virus. And also what we need to do is to close ranks. We need to see the taxi industry saying we are closing ranks behind the message of government to ensure that we flatten the curve. So that's the reason why we are here. We know what we will be distributing today might not be enough, but at least there is something that we are bringing to the party as the provincial government and national government to ensure that there is a degree of security for people who are using the taxis. But there's a simple message that we are taking to the people of South Africa, which we want the taxi associations also to assist us to take through the message, that people must stay at home. I think there's times for operation of taxis have been revised, but we want people to stay at home. And number two, people must wash their hands frequently with soap for not less than 20 seconds. That message should go through, and that people should not touch their faces. When I got in here, some of you were busy touching their faces. It's human nature, but we'll have to counter that human nature and try as far as possible not to touch our faces with our hands and not sanitized, because that's the primary way of transmission of the virus. But we are going through difficult times, and one guy once told me that when you are confronted with good times inspire confidence. And then he said to me, but difficult times, challenging times, they build character. And we've shown this character as South African over the years. We showed character in our struggle against apartheid, which was declared as a crime against humanity. We showed character in our fight against HIV/AIDS, the country that experienced the worst devastation and ravages of HIV/AIDS in the world is South Africa. But we are where we are today, simply because we're a nation that can show courage when we are confronted with such difficulties. So we need to show that character now. That's what we need to do. We need to show that character now. And we can only show that character if we imbue a new sense of patriotism. New sense of patriotism, which demands simple things from us. Stay at home. By staying at home is being patriotic. Wash your hands frequently. Washing your hands frequently is being patriotic. Don't touch your face. If you've got any of the symptoms, there's a call center that you must call. So all of those things, it's a new form of patriotism. easiest form of patriotism, just to stay at home with your family. So we are calling on the taxi association assist us to get the message through. We called it the general here. The general, the South African Police Service and the Army, they've got major difficulties of keeping people at home. There are people who are just openly, defiantly not staying at home. They just defy, and openly they are saying we are not going to abide by this. But if we see the devastation of this virus in countries with much better health infrastructure than South Africa, then we should be very much concerned. Italy is one of the countries with the best health infrastructure in the world, Spain included, the United States of America, which is the belly of capitalism, the world's biggest economy. They are struggling with the same virus. You can just imagine if this thing happens in Africa at the same scale as it is happening in those countries. We are going to sit with major challenges, taking into cognizance the challenges which are there in terms of rendering of public health services. So we need to carry the message. We need to take this message when people get into our taxis, when at least they leave, they should leave with a message which comes from the taxi association that please stay at home, go out when it's absolutely necessary, when you must go out. But there's also other challenges that we are trying to attend to around the question of how do you keep poor people with no access to water, with no food, locked down. I think that's the difficulty which we are confronted with. How do you keep poor people, they don't have water, they don't have food, locked down? Because you actually expose them to two choices. They must die of hunger or they must die of the virus. And hunger becomes the immediate threat. That's what confronts him now. And he must get out of the house to go and look for food. That is the reason why we started to embark on an expansive program of distributing about 47,700 food parcels right throughout the province for poor households who don't have any form of income. The trucks are running right throughout the province to distribute and install water tanks, and we are also getting water trucks to ensure that informal settlements without any form of water infrastructure, the tanks which are installed, trucks are going to fill up those tanks with water regularly. Where there is no form of income, people at least get a food parcel, which is a decent food parcels that we are distributing to the households without any form of income. We spend about 52 million rand just on food parcels to feed the people of the province during these difficult times. Because we realize the difficulty of keeping poor people locked down who don't have access to food and don't have water. So we are working on those things, but we hope that, but we know all the years when we've got campaigns and when we had our campaign against HIV and AIDS, I think the taxi associations and the taxi industry was right on the forefront of that campaign. I can't remember of any taxi vehicle which did not have a branding on HIV/AIDS. All of them. We are right at the forefront of that battle. We are here basically just to distribute this stuff to you, to enable you to keep your work environment safe, and also to ensure that our commuters are also safe.